As Elvira woke up in the morning, she couldn't help but think, if I have a rough start, the whole day will be a challenge. Her alarm clock hadn't gone off again, leaving her to rely on her internal clock to wake up. Frustrated, she quickly got out of bed and rushed to the bathroom, then to the kitchen in desperate need of a cup of coffee. Time was slipping away, but as she tried to brew her coffee, she realized that her coffee machine was silent. Pressing the button again, she realized she should have just boiled water and settled for a cup of tea with a not-so-fresh croissant from the supermarket. Well, this is just one of those days, she muttered to herself. I'll have to get the coffee machine repaired, and it's been in the shop for 3 days already. Now I'll have to take the bus to work. After finishing her tea, she hurried back to her room where she had left her office attire prepared the night before. But when she entered, she found her dress lying on the floor, and it appeared that her beloved cat, Barsik, had made himself comfortable on it. Of course, Barsik, you little troublemaker, Elvira scolded the cat as she reached for her trusty jeans and pulled out a beige shirt from the closet. In her haste to leave, she accidentally broke a nail on her index finger. Oh no, not again, she exclaimed. What a day it's shaping up to be, and it's only morning. I can't even imagine what's next. With a heavy heart, Elvira rushed out of the door. Fortunately, the bus arrived promptly, and she managed to find a seat. It was then that she heard a familiar male voice saying hi beside her. Turning her head towards the window, she saw her ex-husband, Anton, sitting next to her. Oh my goodness, but of course Elvira thought to herself, finally convinced that it was indeed an unlucky day. Hi, she replied curtly and turned away, while Anton continued to smile, seemingly in a good mood. Why did you turn your back on me? Let's at least talk. It's been almost a year and a half since we last saw each other. You're still as beautiful and active as ever. Why are you taking public transportation? Is your car being repaired or did you sell it? It's not very respectable for a businesswoman to ride a bus, the former joked snidely. Elvira chose to remain silent. She didn't want to dampen her mood any further, but he persisted. He couldn't forgive her for their divorce and the loss of their business, even though he knew very well that he wouldn't get anything from it. He just wanted to grab a piece for himself. Elvira, 44 years old, owned her own business center. She divorced Anton because of his infidelity and wandering eye. Their daughter got married about a year ago and now lives with her husband in the Krasnodar region. Elvira was going on vacation to visit them. Her daughter resented her father, cutting off all communication with him. She refused to answer his calls or see him, despite Elvira's insistent reminder. Daughter, it's pointless not to communicate with your father. After all, he is your only father, and there won't be another. Our divorce has nothing to do with you. Mom, I feel sorry for you. Let him live his own life over there. I don't want anything to do with him. I'm an adult, and I understand what's going on. It's disgusting, her daughter replied. Elvira sat in suspense, knowing she would have to endure her ex-husband's presence for a long time and get off at the same stop. She couldn't help but wonder. I wonder why he's in our neighborhood. Are you with another catcher, Masha? How is Marina? The one you left me for? She asked Anton. It's not Marina, it's Lara, he corrected. Oh yes, Lara. What did she kick you out too? Elvira retorted. Why would she kick me out? I'm just here on business in this neighborhood since morning. I left my car for repairs, he said convincingly. Don't be ridiculous. I know very well that you don't even have a car. Just like before, you were useless and lived off my expense, and it seems like nothing has changed. Why doesn't Marina support you financially? Elvira responded. Not Marina, but Mira, Anton replied with irritation. He was trying to provoke her, and when he noticed the broken nail, he sneered. And what's this? A broken fingernail and no money to fix it. Is your business going downhill? I've never seen you like this before. You used to be so careful with your nails. It's unacceptable for a businesswoman to have nails like that on public transportation. What will people think of you? He knew exactly which buttons to push to make her angry. Clothes, cosmetics, manicures. She always made sure she was at the top of her game, always a priority. And now a broken nail. He knew she would be upset over such trivial matters. But for Elvira, it was a big annoyance. My business is doing just fine. And now there's no one to steal the money and waste it on your Katik and Mashka. Oops, I mean Marina, she said deliberately. Not Marina, but Lera. When will you remember? Anton was angered. He wanted to rile her up. But so far she remained calm. It hurt him that his ex-wife couldn't even remember the name Lera. Elvira would never let him see that she was nervous, at least not through her words. And my toenail will be just fine. I had a rough and eventful night, and I accidentally broke it. I'm heading to the office to call a manicurist, and everything will be back to normal. You know I never hesitate to spend money on a manicure, unlike you and your cigarette habit, she retorted. They conversed in hushed voices, dripping with venom, trying to hurt each other as much as possible. But for now, Elvira was holding up better. Why didn't your friend give you a ride after your eventful night? Or is he also on foot, relying on his own 2 feet? Why don't you buy him a car? She taunted. I didn't give him a ride because his Jeep is in the shop. It just happened to be at the same time. Does your Marina also go to a salon for a manicure, or does she do it at home? Do you always not have enough money for cosmetics and manicures for the woman you supposedly love? She challenged. I've told you 100 times, Elvira. Is it so hard to remember? Anton almost completely lost his temper. The man sitting behind Anton was an elegant-looking gentleman with glasses, stylish attire, and a neat haircut. Unbeknownst to him, he became an accidental witness to the conversation between Anton and Elvira, in which they exchanged sarcastic remarks. This man happened to be Oleg, who had a rough morning after oversleeping and discovering that his car was not working. He had to leave his car at the entrance to avoid being late for a meeting that he himself had scheduled, as he despised tardiness. Unfortunately, he found himself in a situation where he couldn't find a taxi and had to hastily board a bus. Oleg noticed that Elvira and Anton were preparing to disembark the bus, and he quickly got up to exit as well, since it was his stop too. As the bus door opened, he stepped out first and positioned himself near the door. Spotting Elvira, he kindly extended his hand towards her and said, Darling, give me your hand. Be careful not to fall. Watch your step. Public transportation is not something you're used to, accompanied by a meaningful smile. Elvira was taken aback by the gesture, but swiftly comprehended the game they were playing. She decided to play along and responded, Thank you, dear. You're right. We should be careful. Public transportation indeed. By the way, when are you picking up your car from the repair shop? Oleg replied, Today. I apologize for the jostling on the bus. Anton was on the verge of losing his balance when he witnessed the handsome stranger offering his hand to Elvira and calling her darling. He couldn't believe that his ex-wife, whom he assumed was pining for him, was living alone and seemingly attracting attention from attractive men. His wife had tolerated his infidelities until she couldn't ignore it any longer. Feeling frustrated, Anton reluctantly headed to work with a sour mood as he overheard someone say, Hi, Marina. Annoyed, Anton muttered under his breath, Not Marina, but Lera. Elvira burst out laughing, glancing at Oleg. Thank you. I appreciate your support. How did you manage that? Oleg chuckled and explained, Well, I was sitting behind you and inadvertently became a witness to your heated argument. I assume it had something to do with your ex-husband. Yes, it's my former spouse, divorced a year and a half ago. It was quite challenging, as he often pushed my patience, but I managed to handle it. By the way, what's your name? I'm Oleg. I'm Elvira. You know, I had a bit of a mishap this morning. My alarm didn't go off, and everything went wrong, including my meeting with my ex. I'm in a rush, I apologize. I dislike being late, and also when others are tardy. Funny enough, I had a similar experience this morning. I was just about to encounter my ex when my car wouldn't start, so I had to take the bus. By the way, why don't we meet up later tonight? Here's my business card. My office is nearby, he said, pointing to the right and looking at her inquisitively. Elvira, feeling inexplicably delighted, swiftly responded, "Sure, let's do that." Mine is close by as well, but in the opposite direction. Here's my card. See you tonight. They parted ways with light steps, both contemplating the excitement in their hearts. The evening at the cafe was delightful. Oleg arrived carrying white roses and remarked, "It seems that sometimes situations like this happen. The evening compensates for the morning's misfortunes." It made me think, if the morning doesn't go well, it doesn't mean the entire day is ruined. I'm glad I ended up taking the bus. Now I understand the saying, whatever God does, it's for the best. Elvira joyously laughed, her eyes sparkling and her spirits uplifted.